name is Pat Romney, and for the longest time I've been wanting to talk about the name Romney in relationship to Mitt Romney, the current Republican candidate for President of the United States. In my family, the name Romney has always been associated with wealth and stature. I should say before my generation, that is, and before my father's generation either. My grandfather, Inkerman Henry Romney, migrated from the British Isles to Trinidad in the late 1800s. He and his two brothers, who were basically white colonialists, moved to Trinidad. My grandfather married a Trinidadian woman, a local woman, and had 8 children. My grandfather Inkerman worked for wealthy estate owners. He was a consultant, and being white and being someone who carried a British passport and was born in the British Isles, he was held in high regard in Trinidad in the late 1800s. So I was taught as a child to also hold that name in high regard. My father called me when I was a little girl Lady Romney, and talked to me about the times when he met the Duke of York and the Duke of Windsor, and spoke to me about his father's work as a consultant and his travels through the West Indies, through Trinidad, St. Lucia, and many other islands. So when I think about Mitt Romney and his wealth, he's often called the royalty of the Latter-day Saints. It makes me think of my own family heritage, my own family history. Of course, that hasn't followed through, that sense of wealth and stature hasn't followed through into this generation, because I'm a black woman, I'm a working woman, and the era of colonialism has long passed, along with its benefits to the colonizers and its damage to those who were colonized by them. One of my father's favorite stories, or one of my favorite stories that he often spoke to me about, was what he did when he wanted to fire a worker. By the way, he was working as a consultant to estate owners in an era when coconut estates were very prevalent throughout the West Indies. And the people who worked those estates were indentured servants brought from India, who had to work 7, sometimes 8 years in order to earn their freedom. My grandfather referred to those people as bound coolies. And whenever they did something they were not supposed to do, whenever they disobeyed his orders, for example, he would tell them that they could take home vegetables from a certain part of the garden, but if they dared to go to another part of the garden, he would often beat them and drive them from the property. Reminds me very much of especially reminded me as a child of the story of the Garden of Eden. The sort of overlord who runs the show and punishes people who transgress. He had a particular story, my father. His particular memory was when his father wanted to fire one of the staff for whatever reason. He would say to my father, "Bertie, go up to my chest, get me some gold coins, and bring them down so I can pay off the poor devils." He referred to the indentured Indian servants as poor devils, as bound coolies, and he ran a very tight ship, both with them and with his children. So the name Romney, when I think about it, even though I carry great pride, I understand that that pride is associated with an era of colonization, a tenor of whiteness, a tenor of wealth, a tenor of being in charge. And I think of the same thing when I think about Mitt Romney. Here's a man who, when he married his wife Anne, would not, the Mormon church would not allow her parents into the ceremony because they were not Mormons. That makes me think about my attempts to meet Mitt Romney when he was governor of Massachusetts. And I was told that I could not gain access to him because he ran a closed door office in Boston. I suspect that he will do the same in Washington, that it will be closed door as it was to me when I tried to meet him, and closed door as it was to Anne's parents when they would have wished to see their daughter be married. So Romney worries me a great deal. And when I think about those folks who call Romney and the Republicans the job creators, I want to just ask you one question. Any of you who are working people like myself, when have you known wealthy people to create jobs? Who has ever created a job for you? Certainly not the people who are carrying their money offshore and depositing them in the Cayman Islands and other places where they are free from taxation. Certainly not the business owners and manufacturers who are taking their business offshore so that American workers don't have jobs. None of these people are job creators. None of the wealthy have ever done, of course there are exceptions. I think of Aaron Feuerstein at Malden Mills and what he did for the workers when his plant burned down. But those are rare exceptions. The stories of companies like Enron loom large. So I would ask you, when you go to place your ballot on Tuesday, November 6th, if you're a working person like myself, to keep in mind that Romney's wealth, his closed-door policy, the historic stature of his family, and their notoriety as Latter-day Saints royalty put him in a very different position than we are as working people. Thank you for your attention.